How's it going, everyone? Just sharing out the live stream link. Hey, hey. All right. We are going to dive into the Bitcoin charts first here. So we'll head over to TradingView. This is the 4-hour chart. We have, I'll say, my technical premise right now is bearish that we see lower over the coming weeks. I wouldn't mind seeing something like this, so I'll share kind of two ideas for bearish continuation. One is to come up and tap these range lows up into the golden pocket of this high to low, and then make our way down into this kind of trend line region, taking this impulse low. So also you can see here on the daily chart, it's where the impulse began into the 618 of this range. It's kind of a bit of a region here. Could also be pulled like this, but mostly taking this impulse low. So this is one scenario. The only thing I would say is that order flow doesn't really support this idea locally as of now, and we'll review that shortly. Another level I'm watching is obviously taking the range highs as an idea, and this is just based on an order flow perspective. So one idea is we reject here. The other is we come up and we actually take this daily candle high into the POC around the 786. So this is the origin of this big impulse to the downside. And we come up and sweep that liquidity. I'll talk about why I think that might be a little bit more likely from an order flow perspective, but we'll see how things play out here in the New York Open. But we can see here, I took this short from the range highs, and it was set up like this. I did hit my TP1 around here, and I still have some of that running. But we had this trend line here. We had a pretty clean flip of the trend line, flipped into resistance, and had this big move to the downside. But anyways, let's take a look at order flow. So just kind of watching to see if we reject here into the open. If we flip this, there's some local highs here to take. Could be interesting. Or we come up here. If we break out of that, the range highs. There's a few kind of corrective structures that could make sense here. The reason a little higher looks more likely, if we head over to XO here, you can see we have some bullish absorption that's been forming all through this range. We had this huge liquidation wick. This huge liquidation wick. We can see here lots and lots of volume coming into these moves to the downside. I actually want to check something really quick because there's something weird going on. My what is going on here? I'm just looking at the chart here. This is BTC USD on Bybit. And this wick is missing for some reason. Oh, I am such an idiot. I thought it was on the 15-minute chart. No, I'm not an idiot. Sorry, I'm definitely a little bit confused here. Is anyone else seeing what I'm saying here? Seeing the same thing on your XO? 41,497. I saw this wick the other day. This wick should come down to 40K. Why isn't it showing up in the data here? Give me 1 second. Should be a 200 million and $100 million 5-minute candle there. Just refreshed it. Yeah, that's weird. Sunday at 1800 hours. Very strange. Even the order flow data, it was there because I posted it in the Discord. But this wick here isn't showing on XOs for me suddenly. But what I was going to say, and the premise still applies, sorry about this little deviation here, but this isn't correct. This isn't showing this wick properly. This wick should be coming down to here. And the data here is not reflecting what actually happened. But the premise of seeing higher here is we're seeing some local bullish absorption forming between these lows. So there is selling pressure coming in here. It's being absorbed. We did just have a little local wick up into these highs. And we saw 9.3 million delta shorts being squeezed out at the highs, which is quite significant. So this could generate a little local high. Might be a nice kind of scalp short idea into some of these local lows. This is just on this wick here. See the big influx in volume, lots of shorts squeezed out at the local high here. But the overall context here is leaning a little bit bullish. So anyways, the shorts I'd be interested in is if we could push up and take these highs and reject. If we just claim them and break up, I'll be looking up towards this POC for a short. But I'd be waiting to see how price reacts there. And I'll figure out what's going on with XO later. And why this wick isn't showing properly. But the general idea I'm looking for would be something like this. And I'll talk about if that becomes invalidated. But it would be over the coming weeks. If we see continuation to the downside, come and run these lows. And this would be a long trigger for me. Around 37,300, 37,500. The long trigger would be sweeping and reclaiming the level down to this trend line. Pulling the golden pocket from this region I think makes sense. We could push up maybe towards Christmas. maybe we'll have some kind of trend line here. Of course, I'm just imagining what this might look like. And then we come back and retest these highs into this region of the chart, around 33,000. So that's the more bearish scenario, and then would be looking for a swing long up into the 50K region from there. So the kind of three trades I'd be looking for if this is a break in the trend and we see lower, possibly adding to shorts here if I get a clean setup. I'm not super worried about doing that, but if it looks clean, I will take one. But then longing into this sweep, taking profits up towards this retracement, looking for a short setup there. Again, that could be around Christmas Day. Just if this price action plays out this way, and then shorting that down into this region around 35K. If we start claiming these levels and we don't reject, well, of course, this general idea gets invalidated. We will look at some alts as well. Look at ETH next. What is a wick? This is a wick. We had this big wick left behind. So in the Discord the other day, you know, this is the 1 minute chart. This happened very quickly, just straight down, straight back up. I'd woken up around here, but I just said I wasn't gonna take any longs with that wick left behind. And then we came down and we filled the wick, getting a nice local bounce for now. So anyways, we do have some local liquidity tapped here. We're ranging, a little bit of bullish absorption forming. We'll see what happens at the New York Open if we get another pulse to the upside. But my overall idea here is I'm looking for continuation to the downside. First key level around 37,300. Maybe we get a move up from there and looking to take profits on that. Short down into lower. Yeah, I might make some more advanced Elliott Wave stuff. I have shared some good resources in the Discord. There's some obviously great content out there, and Elliott Wave is so in depth. It's quite an undertaking. One, to add anything that hasn't been covered, and two, just to make it robust enough. There's a lot of existing great content out there. All right, so if that happens on ETH, and if you measure these moves based on the correlation between ETH and Bitcoin, this would be what you would maybe look to see on ETH. That'd be a move down into this region of the chart. Maybe come back up and retest these current highs at the same time as Bitcoin is doing something like this. And then moving down to this $14,600, $1,460 region, coming in, taking these lows. So that'd be my high time frame bearish perspective into a swing long. We would have to break this channel structure, which I would be more apt to see happen if we come to take these lows, because it's kind of like a triple trend line here. This was a slight front run, but I'd rather see that liquidity run, not quite that deep. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. I have alerts set, these lows, and if we come up and retest this high, I'd be looking for a continuation short. I did have an idea on a Sol short that I didn't take. I think some people in the Discord did take it. I didn't take it because it was on the weekend, but it was coming up and tapping this channel and then breaking down and shorting down into these lows. We have a good wick. I'm going to watch this structure still. I'm interested to see when this wick gets taken. If we can come down and tap this channel, take these lows, or retest these lows. Looking for a long setup around $60 on Sol. Yeah, I can take a look at Atom. Atom is pumping. I do have just a simple level marked out here on Atom. Actually curious to draw this as a channel and just see. So I have an alert here. They would be coming and taking this daily high. We impulse up into this channel structure. Might be a tight invalidation short setup there. And something like this would be an 8R. Just coming and retesting this wick. Maybe retest this trendline break. I'd want to see price react here. Run this high. Might even be tighter invalidation than that. You might be able to argue trading it very tight. Like this. CVD can get a little tricky on altcoins with USDT. The data can be weird, and depending on the exchange you're using too, the data can be a little suspect, but generally the concepts should apply. Let's go to, someone's asking about ADA. Back here I had this is back in April, this idea of putting in an A, B, C back into these lows. Probably could have found that long, but I was looking for the 1618 extension to be tapped here. Actually, FTM had a similar setup, but this retest could have been used as a long trigger. But anyways, yeah, last week when we were down here, before we took these highs, I was looking for these highs to be run on Cardano, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'd like to see it's a pretty strong impulsive move. Like there's probably going to be a fifth wave or extended third wave. I'd be interested if we can get a deeper retracement and looking for a long on a retest on something like this on Cardano up into the 84 cent region. Probably getting a TP up here. Set these alerts a little closer. Wouldn't mind taking a look at this if but yeah, obviously a lot of alts will pull back if Bitcoin continues to break down. Just taking a look at INJ. I mean, yeah, breaking out of these highs. Certainly wouldn't be interested in shorting this clean break at the highs here. I mean, you technically could try to long a breakout. We almost had a retest there. Could wait for something like this, a tighter invalidation breakout. Where would you target? It's hard to say. Yeah, I'm not really too interested in like my style of trading. There's really nothing I'm going to do here on INJ. Wait for some structure to form and maybe find something cleaner and tradable. Give me 1 second. All right, somebody wants me to take a look at. Oh, I definitely have that on my. Hmm. Just taking a second to review the charts here. Yeah, somebody said take a look at Harmony. It looks really good. Obviously, I have no idea what they're seeing on their charts. I'm seeing we swept the highs and the 1.272 extension roughly. Have a choppy downtrend here. Be an ascending structure here. Certainly an ascending trend line that will be on roughly its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th touch. Be some confluence there. Come take these lows. Could offer a bounce. Maybe I'll send an alert to look at it when price comes. But I'm not if price comes there. Otherwise, coming back and retesting these lows. Obviously, we can rally from anywhere, but those are the levels I'd be interested in. Then maybe up here towards this value area high. I talked briefly about Sol at the beginning of the chart. Someone says, your trader hat aside, is there any token you're very bullish on? Not really. I don't really have any. I mean, I'm not a fundamentals guy. I just trade technical setups with asymmetric risk reward. I mean, I could argue that maybe I'd be bullish on something like Doge because of its just there's lots of potential for catalysts with Elon Musk's interest in it and Twitter, and probably could imagine it being implemented in some way with Twitter, and I've heard rumors about Tesla as well. Those kind of things can offer, I mean, it's probably one of the strongest projects in terms of like actual potentially being utilized by major companies like X. Got slightly front run on a long setup. This actually would have been such a clean short here, taking that sweep at the highs. But I had an idea back here of coming down and taking these lows, but into this level as we touch this ascending structure. We kind of tap the ascending structure, but we front run these lows. But I'm still kind of watching this level. Still kind of interested. Targeting up through these highs. But it's very hard just to be like, if you have, you know, say for example, the Doge sort of fundamental thesis. I mean, this has been the case all through here, but we chopped up and down in a 50% range. It's very hard to take a trade just based off of sort of general bullishness. I'm going to be taking a look at Bitcoin here locally soon, because just interested to see what happens in this New York session. Some selling coming in now. Something I want to make very clear too is if you're asking me to look at these charts that you're interested in, and maybe you have your own thesis, stick to your thesis, because I'm not trying to predict where price will go. So for example, I'm not saying on Bitcoin price will come down here. What I am saying is I'm marking out levels I'd like to trade around. So for example, as it was looking more likely would come up and sweep the highs of the range here, I was interested in shorting the highs if we swept it and rejected. I wasn't saying we would. I also am interested in trades all the time that the levels never even come. So me being interested in trading a level, maybe it's an alt that you're looking at, and I say, oh, I'd maybe be interested if price came down to here. Don't take that to have anything to do with whatever your trades are. I'm simply setting an alert and would be prepared to trade it if the level came. And if it never does, then there's no trade setup. I'll look at a few more alts here that are being requested. I know some of these charts I won't have looked at in a long time. Look at that little front run. Yeah, I mean, I would say on sand, it doesn't seem unlikely that we get continuation out of this. At least take these highs. We come and run this into this channel. We come take all these highs. But wouldn't be longing it unless I found a nice clean technical entry. Something that would be relatively straightforward in terms of just invalidation. Come down into this area of consolidation here. Maybe get some interaction with this ascending structure, potential ascending structure. It's not really confirmed. And come retest these highs. This is the 4-hour chart. Sweep this wick. And maybe use something like this as a trigger. The idea would be see that liquidity grab, have price come back up above the level, then fire off along, and certainly could look to target some of these highs, I think, with the long setup. Nice clean invalidation here. Premise this ascending structure holding. Fill this wick up. Come and take these lows from 0.4527 cents. And I'd be willing to set an alert on that. Run this wick and see if we can come down into this key level. Getting some clean interaction with the middle of this channel. See the highs drawn here. This is a predictive channel. It's not a channel that's formed yet. It's kind of predicting the idea that a channel would form. See this really nice middle line interaction. Establishing that price is interacting on this angle. So we've anchored our trend angle here. And if we were to form a channel right into this golden pocket retracement, this intersection between the predictive channel and the golden pocket here, it's a setup I quite like. Lots of ways to invalidate a trade like this. Even trading the level. the stop under these lows. We'll see. This is TradingView. Someone's asking which chart tool this is. Someone says, what do you recommend to learn order flow trading like you? Well, you could join the LATF. That's the Discord group. There's lots of order flow resources in there. And a common topic of discussion. Someone's asking log chart or regular chart. I'm typically on the regular chart, but for really parabolic moves, it can make sense to just use the log chart. So I'll just give a brief example. Would Pepe's price history on Binance be quite deep? Yeah, fairly. Where's the deepest price history going to be? Oh, it gets pretty deep. All right. So it'd be quite difficult to make sense of this price action if you're not on a log scale with a 5,000% gain. Am I being like first EXO doesn't work. There's no way this is the logarithmic scale. Of Pepe. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Anyways, the levels here would make more sense on log. I have no idea why this chart's not converting to logarithmic scale. I'm gonna try. Yeah, I mean, this is log. Anyways, this price action, parabolic price action, makes a lot more sense to use log scale. All right, we're 3 minutes to the open. Someone asks, how much time a day do you spend on the charts? Do you watch the order flow for like 12 hours straight? No. I chart key levels and I set alerts. And I review order flow when my levels are being hit. So in terms of like, if you're studying backtesting, you're going to spend more time on the charts, learning new concepts. And one thing in my view is if you're going to spend a lot of time on the charts, sitting and staring at the live chart, just watching this 15-minute candle or the 1-minute candles, you're not typically learning anything or going anywhere. I mean, not to say you can't. If you're looking at specific ideas, you can. But just sitting there staring at the charts and trying to trade the last 1 or 5 minute candle, doesn't typically end well. I think a better use of your time would be to go back test and test out concepts on historical price action. So you can learn a lot. You can go back and literally test years and years of price action, different concepts, and build data on them and mock trade them, paper trade them. We did have a big 8 million delta local high there. Not surprised to see a local pullback. And this big 8 million, 9.3 million delta shorts being stopped out. I'm full-time trader. Yeah, Joe, I did take a brief look at ETH earlier on, but I can take another look. Just high time frame perspective. If Bitcoin breaks down, looking at these lows being swept into this region of the chart, we come back and retest these highs, then down into these lows. The question is if this is the beginning of a deeper correction. Still kind of holding up this ascending structure. We wick through it, but maybe we wicked right to it if I draw it properly. Maybe we didn't even touch it. So you could argue that would be a key idea. ETH loves clean interactions with trend lines. I mean, if I wanted to try a long on ETH, not thinking about lower, I have this nice little sweep here. Maybe if we could come and just like sweep this wick into this trend line. Could target up into this channel. We haven't tapped it yet. This golden pocket. I don't think it'd be unreasonable. Break down this channel. The golden pocket's right there in the center of the channel. Yeah, so that'd be the more, I mean the low also could be in, but the more bullish thesis, seeing these highs before these lows. We run the liquidity under this trend line. That'd be my preference probably for a local long setup. I don't even know if I'd be that interested in taking long without sweeping these lows. So the way you might, like maybe we come and break down a little bit more, run some of this liquidity, take this retest, and you're reclaiming that wick. Take profits up into this impulse high. You'd be expecting, if we saw some strength here, to just run through this area of the chart pretty quickly and impulse back up into these highs. If we did that, I just wouldn't be surprised to see this 2630 level. So I might be interested in taking that trade. And that would just be, you know, if we just break down, I look for lower. If we do sweep and reclaim this wick, then I'd be interested in taking along there. Could remove some of these predictive fibs. Maybe something like that would be a nice scalp idea. Or day trade. Lock in a quick TP1. Carry the rest higher. Then short a sweep of those highs. Yeah, from an order flow perspective, this is kind of a nice scalp short idea or local setup, just with the 9.3 million positive delta. That's quite significant. We can run some of these local lows. It's the 5-minute chart. Someone's asking, you believe diagonal support and resistance lines should be respected low time frame. I don't know if I know how to answer that question simply, but I believe price action's fractal. So I believe the same concepts that you can apply on high time frames can be applied on low time frames. I like to be aware of existing trend lines. People watch them and they can be big triggers for liquidity. This one was a pretty, I think probably a pretty well watched trend line. Liquidity builds up below and above them. Price interacts with trend lines quite frequently, especially on alts and ETH. Trend lines tend to be quite relevant. Yeah, I thought I must have been on this screen because I just drawn this trend line. But yeah, I mean, I believe that trend lines are. It's not that I necessarily am just going to sit and trade trend lines, but I do watch them. I prefer parallel structures rather than just straight trend lines. Obviously, the more a trend line's tested, just like any level of support or resistance, the more likely it's going to be to break, less likely it is to remain relevant. Although sometimes what will happen is either a trend line is just going to break on its 4th or 5th touch, or somehow it just holds for like 10 touches. Occasionally. I think ETH had a pretty wild trending structure here. Depending on how you drew it. I think there was a bunch of whatever, I won't go back to a bunch of kind of really close trend lines. Yeah, well, I think I've kind of established the primary ideas here. I see no reason, like, let me just clear the charts here on Bitcoin. Let's just get a quick, clean perspective. Let's turn off a bunch of stuff. This is clearly a break in structure. We've had this continuous uptrend here. You know, arguably there's similar qualities to this retracement as this retracement. But there's no reason to think that it's not possible that we continue to the downside here and that we're just going to continue this bull run. We certainly can, or this bullish price action rather. We certainly can. If we start reclaiming these levels, maybe that looks a little more likely. Obviously a break of this and probably just going to 48K. I'm willing to be patient here with swing long ideas. We have some local bullish order flow forming. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing, like I said, something like this. Take out all this liquidity that's been building up. This is obviously our first real big liquidity grab in this whole uptrend. But this could be the beginning of a correction. If I get really clean setups to add to my shorts, I'll take them. But I'm not going to force it. Still some of that short running from the highs here. Wait for some structure to form. If we get a really nice sweep of these local highs, nice high positive delta, I have clean invalidation. If we break out, I'll look to do the same up at the highs of the range. Just being patient. If it's a clean setup, we get a good rejection, take a short. Good reaction, order flow looks good. If we just break on through the highs, then the rest of my short gets stopped at break even. But for now, main idea, looking for continuation to the downside. All right, I'll take a couple more altcoin requests here. I'm gonna see. I'll probably sit for another 30 minutes on live stream. Mostly focus on Bitcoin order flow here. So maybe take some local lows. Certainly ran through these highs. I'm going to go to log scale here. 500% parabolic move. let's just draw this properly. I mean, AVAX seems to be heading to the this would just be interesting. On log scale, we would have a pretty clean golden pocket. Hold on 1 second. We're going to come look at Bitcoin in a second. Up around $50. Just have some clean technical structure here. There's not really any adjacent structure. Be kind of a random rejection in that sense. Be around this area. We have this golden pocket intersecting with this parallel structure. I think if I was to look at trading it, I'd hope for something like that. Maybe maybe look to short like a local sweep of a local high as a swing trade. But yeah, on AVAX, for shorts, for key structure to interact with, if we just break out of there, then we break out. We've kind of claimed all structure right now on the daily chart. Not a ton of structural resistance here. You know, to long up into that level, kind of tricky. Can get caught by these quick liquidation wicks pretty easily. Price is kind of grinding down here locally. Now where would be a nice retracement idea? It's not quite a perfectly clean parallel structure. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be tough. I mean, this is, you'd expect to get a reaction if you came and took these lows. I just don't know how likely it is to see that retracement before these highs. But again, you can try breakout longs here. It's not really my preferred style of trading. This doesn't quite look right to me, but you know, tight invalidation setups. Flip this high into support. Something like this could make sense. We come and retest this ascending structure here, sweep these local lows, reclaim them. That would maybe be a trigger that made sense. If we can't reclaim them, probably looking for a big move to the downside, wiping out this liquidity under this uptrend. And the idea of longing on a trigger, like you don't take the long just because prices come down. You wait for a sign of strength. You wait to see some local levels being reclaimed. And if they can't be, then you just don't take the long. So sort of a if this, then that. Bitcoin's taking these lows. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. We'll wrap up these this stream. So we've taken these local lows. Actually, the delta here is quite nice. So here we had 9.3 positive delta at the highs. And that's where I'd said at the beginning of the stream, probably could make sense as a scalp short for a local high. Now we have 8.2 million at the lows. Getting an initial reaction here. You can even watch it on the 1 minute chart. See here the initial reaction. Wouldn't mind coming and taking out these lows, but it could be viewed as a valid trigger, certainly. Validation would be very clear here for a setup. I never risk more than 1 to 2% of my trading account on a single trade. It's just give me 1 sec. It's always about managing your risk. Let's set up an order here. Let's see how price reacts. If I can get in a little bit lower. Keep an eye on order flow. If we run these lows, I'll probably look to scalp here. But I'm prepared to enter. We have an initial reaction, and I'll probably trigger my trade any second here. Just waiting to see how this initial reaction plays out. If we just break down, I have my market order set up. If we just break down, then I won't take the trade here. But if we continue to hold up the level, then I'll take it. Again, it's not a matter of guessing what's going to happen or what's not. It's about setting up a trade with clear invalidation. For me, it's just a sweep and a reclaim of that low on this high volume sweep. Nice liquidity, kind of the yin and yang of the positive delta at the highs. Still willing to be patient here. Waiting to see if we just run the lows again. There's the retest potentially. Price, I mean, I'm on the 1 minute time frame here, but price rounding, grinding over, grinding down. If a run of this level comes, I have to be prepared to take that trade probably quite quickly to catch the reaction. It looks like it probably will come. Maybe. Still hold up this level. All right, I'm gonna take this trade. I'm just taking it. It's tight invalidation. Mine's a little bit under this low. I moved that a little bit. If I get stopped out, it's not a big deal. I'll trade the next level. I have a short running. Trading around from higher, but trading around, yeah, so that's important to note as well. I'm not closing my short. This trade long is on a local time frame. The idea is trading around the high volume, high liquidity wicks. I won't be surprised to see lower, but I'm willing to just, we're consolidating here. I'm willing to try a trade around this pivot low. Again, never risking more than 1%. And I am going to get stopped here almost certainly. And I am still going to prepare to trade this level. I don't know. It looks like we might hold this level into the 1 hour. Open. Price certainly wants to attempt to hold it. .8, 8.2, 2.6. I mean, it's structurally a nice setup, and order flow does support the idea. We have a new 1 hour candle in 2 minutes. Local resistance. Here. I had a slightly wider hard stop, and I was prepared to manually close it. Obviously, the prices are actually different on MEXC, where I'm trading right now, than they are on the Bybit chart. And it's just hard in the, you know, like I drew the setup idea, and then moved the entry when I was going to enter lower. But yeah, I'm running a hard stop a little lower and ready to manually close it as well. But I am not out of the trade. We're talking about a 0.19% wick below the level. You really want to see continuation and a break of these highs and reclaim. So there's the new 1 hour candle. I don't think this trade's out of the woods at all. Structurally, the next level to reclaim is still here. We can easily just come back down. Someone's asking full TP or partial. Up around 42,500, 42,200. I would say that there's risk reward to either, right? You could take the full out of the scalp. I'd say that this probably is a suspect level to try to trade it much higher. The only thing that's kind of going in its favor is that order flow is more bullish. But it's just really hard to call this, like the time frame of this trade, as high time frame. So it doesn't really make sense to trade it beyond these local highs. We can come and run these highs. And still get, let's say, something like that. So yeah, TPing up into these highs and these highs could make sense. To carry it much higher than that, one thing you can do, but you have to be quite disciplined, is you can pull your limits if you're there watching, and if price does just impulse through the highs, you can carry the position. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm talking about something that I would do. But if there's signs of weakness there, it can just make sense to take profits. And if you're not there at all, setting limit TPs can make sense. But occasionally I will pull a limit TP and give price the opportunity to have a really big reaction through a level. I might have done the same with this TP on this short, but I wasn't available. So my TP just got hit and seen if the level just broke. So here, right around the 1 hour open, we've come and retested the level now. So we've swept this local level, we've retested it on the 50-minute chart, but this is on the 1 hour chart as well. And ideally what you'd like to see is price come up and claim these levels. Yeah, someone noting it's the 382 here. Close enough. I think just the structure here makes sense to maybe look for a setup. Just taking these lows, similar to where we front ran this high, but then with just the high volume, high delta, looking for a reaction. That's something I talk about in the LITF a lot. Is there's no guarantees in trading, right? It's all a game of probabilities. Nobody knows what's going to happen next, but understanding why there's volume here, why there's a lot of longs getting stopped out. We see the big decrease in open interest, high negative delta, and the inverse here with shorts getting stopped out at the highs, high delta, high volume candles. Trading around these, counter trading around them, you have to have other confluences, but it can make a lot of sense. They can offer nice tight invalidation setups, but you need to use risk management because it's there's no guarantees. Just because you have these high negative delta candles, high volume candles, doesn't mean price is going to bounce, and vice versa. But if you have nice key technical ideas, they can be nice confluences for a trade from an order flow perspective. The idea is you're looking for all these local longs to get stopped out. The bigger traders who filled their shorts up here have offloaded into this liquidity. They're filling long positions. All these longs get stopped out. Price reclaims the level. And all these longs start coming back into the market after being stopped out higher. And that can drive price higher. If there was no volume here and no delta, I'd be a lot less interested in taking along a scalp here. And it should go without saying that this long trade has nothing to do. Oh, I should update in the Discord that I took this long. I'm even going to move it up a bit. I always forget to update when I'm streaming. I think the setup is still valid. Traded higher here, obviously. I think it can make a lot of sense to run a hard stop now under this low. But anyways, what was I even saying? I forget. Oh, I was going to say it should go without saying that this this trade has nothing to do with my higher time frame thesis over the next weeks or months. It's literally confined to this local area of the chart. Targets that make sense to me, coming up and taking these highs, Where I would be interested in potentially flipping short, there's two key ideas. I talked about these at the start of the stream, but I'll reiterate them for continuation to the downside. If I can get a clean, tight invalidation setup, retesting this range low, sweeping these local highs, I would wait to see price reject. I'd probably run my stop a little wider here. If it rejects back into this local range idea, I'd take a short with tight invalidation. Actually, I'm going to cover something. I talk about it a lot in the Discord, but I'll cover it quickly here too. I would also be interested in shorting a sweep of these highs up into this level. Actually, I can just turn on all those levels here. there's a POC here and a daily candle high. The level is actually around 43,760 on the Bybit chart. We could run deeper through these highs as well. I'd look for both. But anyways, those are the two local levels I'm interested in. Let's turn off this chart again. Somebody might ask, why would I take this trade, and if I get stopped out, take this trade again? Why wouldn't I just run my stop like this and just take it as one trade? Because it's a game of probabilities, let's just say one trade works and the other one gets stopped out. And let's just say that I have a $100 trading account and I'm risking $1 per trade, which is 1R. If one gets stopped out here, I lose 1R. And if the next one works, and I make 12.3R, so I profit 11R, trading it as two setups, even though one worked, one lost. This doesn't work if you're not using risk management and sizing your trades appropriately. If I size it like this, obviously if my stop is wider and I want to maintain my risk, I need to trade it much smaller. The risk reward is 2.32. If I win and I don't take any losses, I make 2.3R. So there's a risk and a reward to trading each level individually with local invalidation versus just trading it once, wider and smaller. The benefit of trading it once, wider and smaller is it's less emotional for people. There's less stress. You're less likely to take a stop loss. There's nothing wrong with trading setups wider and smaller. And for most people, it's going to be the preferred way of trading. Especially as newer traders, taking losses can feel quite emotional. And you can be, especially because what people will try to do is they'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to take multiple trades and trade each level with local invalidation. And then they'll do this and take 50 shorts and blow up their account. And they won't be risking even 1%. They'll be risking 5% or whatever it is. So, if that's the danger of trading with tight invalidation. If you're not good at trading clean levels and walking away from an idea if it's not working, and just taking your stop, then yeah, like this setup, trade as a 2R setup. Nothing wrong with that. Trade into these highs, 4R. Maybe you can carry some of it up into this level. That's an 8R. Somebody's asking, what does delta mean? Delta is, okay, let's go over to EXO here. So here, this is the delta. You see in this candle, we have these numbers and blue bars on the left, white on the right. This is market selling. This is market buying. The delta in the candle is the difference between the market buying and the market selling in the candle. And so an order can happen at market. It can happen at limit. A market order, a selling market order could either be a short opening at market or a stop loss, a long stop loss triggering at market. So that executes at market. This is what this is showing you. It's not showing you limit orders. Limit orders would be resting here. Like a limit order has to be, a limit sell has to be above current price. A limit buy has to be below current price. They get filled by market orders. So you see 8.2 negative million delta here. This can be 8.2 million shorts opening in balance to longs. So there's 8.2 million delta to the negative. So more market selling, or it can be longs getting stopped out. And we know it's primarily longs getting stopped out because there's a decrease in open interest. So it's positions closing. If it was positions opening, like here, we have a 1.8 million positive delta increase in open interest. These are longs primarily opening. Here, we know at the highs of the range, which also does make it a little more likely to see a rejection. We saw that it was shorts being stopped out. We had a 9.3 million positive delta. That's quite significant. All here distributed at the top of the candle. You can see them, 1.2 million, 1.6 million. This is a candle. These are the the price charts right here. Each little bar here is $19 of price. This just can adjust that tick size. But anyways, so that's all market buying. But the market buying is not new. It's not new positions opening. It's shorts being closed by stop loss. And we know this because of the decrease in open interest. And just the inverse is happening here. We are rejecting from this local range high here, so the lows may get taken. But anyways, that's what delta is. It's shown down here. It's also shown as a line here. This is the delta line. It's the same information that's being shown down here. It's just visualized differently. And this is your open interest. So basically what we're seeing here, just from like a market analysis perspective, is this wick stopped out a bunch of shorts, like 9.3 million shorts stopped out. Price comes down, this wick stopped out a bunch of longs. We can see that in the order flow and we can infer it in the volume, but we don't know that's what happened without order flow, but we can infer a lot of positions opened or closed up at the top on this high volume wick. A lot of positions open and close on this high volume wick. We are reacting here, struggling to flip this into support. But I will say, just because a level gets a reaction does not mean that price is going to reject. Price reacts to a lot of levels. But it should just be noted that you want that level to get claimed. You don't want price to reject from it. And if it does, then probably heading into take these lows. Price is always driving towards liquidity. It may do this, may do this, continue taking liquidity, and we could just have a big bearish rejection without ever retesting these range highs or previous range lows. It's just be an SR flip. Anyways, if you're interested in learning more about this stuff, come check out the LATF Discord. These concepts are covered in more detail. And the most important thing that I recommend everybody that does that's new to any trading concept or new to trading in general, take it slow, paper trade. Don't put a bunch of money at risk in the market as a new trader. There's plenty of time to learn concepts and even develop a style and system that suits you and your lifestyle. There's not only one way to trade the market. There are general concepts that I think can be deployed in every style. And just make sure you're using risk management. There's no reason to, one, get stuck in trades that are going deeper and deeper and deeper underwater when your thesis is invalidated. So before you enter a trade, have a thesis. It's okay to give your trade room to breathe. You can say like, okay, well, this is the general idea. I'm going to size it so, I can give my trade a little bit of room to deviate from the exact level, the exact plan. But if this isn't working, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to take a reasonable loss. A standard that is often used by professional traders is 1 to 2% of your account at risk. But there's no reason to put anything at risk if you don't have any proven system or data that you're trading. That's why I always recommend starting with paper trading, tracking your data, tracking your results, and then slowly deploying real capital into that trading system. But what's the point in deploying money into the market, especially as a new trader. I find it's actually surprising how many people struggle to understand the concept of risk management and proper sizing, and why it's necessary. And honestly, I find a lot of people have a hard time figuring out how sizing works. Like if your stop loss is 1%, how big your size would be. If your stop loss is 5% away, how big your size would be. That kind of, I don't want to call it simple math. I mean, I would say it is simple math, but if you've never done it, it's not. You need to understand all that stuff before you're jumping into the market and trying to size up your positions. All right. Well, what do you guys think? We can kind of look to wrap up the stream here. We have a sweep of the local lows here, getting an initial reaction. Struggling to flip this into support. Okay, so I want to just say we have a couple things to look at before end the live stream locally. So look at this. We have 3.3 million longs opening in this candle. We know they're longs, or 3.3 million positive delta. We know that it's primarily longs opening, positions opening, because of the increase in open interest. And we see price rejecting below them. So here, this is price stopping out. This is price stopping out open longs. As we're seeing our first longs come into this initial reaction, had a little bit here, 1.8 million, some shorts closing, 1.2 million, some longs closing and shorts opening, but it's a decrease in open interest. Then we see 3.3 million longs opening. There is some local absorption happening here. We know that because price isn't going any higher locally as of yet relative to these highs. So this isn't good for this long setup locally. You know, these longs can get wiped out right here. We don't know where their stops are. Seeing some of them getting stopped out, presumably. But it's hard to see at this scale, but this could kind of explain order flow for those of you who aren't in the LATF and don't understand this concept, is we're seeing a cumulative volume delta increase here. So we were at 13.8 million at the lows to the negative, 12.1, 11.9, 10.7, 10.6, 7.3. So we're seeing cumulative volume delta increase, but candle to candle here, but price isn't going any higher. That means there's limit selling. That's limit selling is not shown in the delta. It's inferred by the relationship to price and delta. So we see that there's somebody trying to push price lower here, presumably into this deeper liquidity. But we'll see if that's what happens. But you know, what you would actually rather see here, which could seem counterintuitive, is you'd rather see market shorting coming in on these candles and price holding up. So you'd rather see an increase in open interest and negative delta. You'd rather see people aggressively selling into this level, but price not breaking down. And that would make this trade a little bit more likely to play out. But we're seeing the reverse of that. As we see our first kind of new participants after this sweep coming in long, we see price failing to break out of these local highs. So yeah, that's kind of an edge that takes a long time to develop, but that's a bearish sign here locally. That could mean another sweep at the local lows. We can see what order flow looks like, but I think price is probably going deeper. Hopefully that makes some sense, but if you've never been exposed to these ideas, then you're not likely to pick it up with a brief explanation like that. So I'm looking at these lows, but that's kind of a hard thing to teach on in a few minutes. But I guess a nice opportunity. So we can see here 4.2 million negative delta at the lows. presumably all these longs that just opened up. The same setup I took. The same setup I took. Although I recognized this coming a little earlier. Getting stopped out with a stop below the local low. It's about the kind of delta that you see, positive delta you see all coming in here. 3.3 million, 1.8, 149K, 110K. So roughly a lot of those positions have been stopped out, or the majority of them. But price hasn't reclaimed the level yet. I think when scalping, there's nothing wrong with saying if an idea isn't working quickly, whether that's closing a trade at break even or slightly above entry or slightly below entry, give your trade an opportunity to work. But if you're seeing things that aren't looking like they're in favor of the trade, there's nothing wrong with just getting out of it and reassessing. Especially when scalping, you want to see the trade working quickly. Maybe you get that initial reaction, a level's not being retested, then you see a bunch of longs open, price held down, start rejecting. Just making the decision to get out of a trade can make a lot of sense. Can always re-enter and reassess. But if it's kind of neutral, then you might not get out of a trade early. Do you have 5 million delta here at the lows? So what we could see is price chop around and form a local range here. Now this level's flipped to resistance for now. Looking at these lows, but hey, I still have my swing short running, but this is it's very possible that we just have a big bearish rejection here. We'll see. I'm going to stick around on live because this could just be interesting to watch if we don't reclaim this level. This would be interesting. And this would look very interesting if we ran these lows. All right, let me mark out the level on EXO. So this is, someone's asking what's this program called? It's called EXO charts. All right, so I'm just going to be looking at these next levels for price to interact with here. They're marked out in green. I'm going to zoom in so we can see the delta in the candles here. Expecting significant delta to start coming in as we take these lows. Again, that's just marked out in the green here. So for better or worse, I personally wouldn't be interested in a long on this reaction. That might cost me a position, and I'll just give you the reason here. So we have all these local lows, and you could argue that we took this impulse low. We have all these local lows here. The volume in the delta does not look that compelling to me. And so I would expect lower. And I know that my last trade didn't work with the higher delta and higher volume. But I'd still look for lower here personally. And if I can't get lower, then I could wait for higher. Signs of strength. So the idea here would be looking for some of these higher delta candles to off. This isn't that high, 3 million. But anyways, for the pivot low to come in around a higher delta candle. We might not get that, of course. Trying to see some local strength. But it's not a trigger for me to log there, so I'm not going to take it. Something that could be noted here is, depending on how this price action plays out, of course we could just impulse right through the top of the range now, but this can kind of turn into a pretty choppy, rounded, grinding structure pretty easily, which usually ends in an impulse to the downside. So anyways, I'm gonna keep an eye on things. I'll update in the Discord. Took a stop loss on that long. Not gonna long here. I mean, a sign of strength could be reclaiming this, but I'm just gonna look for lower at this point. See what this looks like. Yeah, I looked at CBD. I just was on it, wasn't I? Long stopped out. Some shorts opening at the lows, about 2.1 million. A sign of strength could be just a reclaim of this level again. But honestly, I'm not that interested in longing that. It certainly could work. I'm fine to be picky around these long setups. I took the long on the initial sweep. We rejected on this retest. I'd be interested in something like that. If I don't get it, I'm just not going to long. And so I'll just tell you the general idea here. I think this should be something simple for everyone to understand. Is, let's say I'm interested in longing this and I'm interested in longing this. But if I'm too caught up with the idea of, well, I don't want to miss the long, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. So if I start thinking, well, I don't want to miss the long, so this looks like a good reaction, I'm going to long this. And so now I've longed this. I'm like, well, I'll just cut it if, you know, price breaks down, and then I'll long down here. So then I get stopped up another trade. I think, oh, why did I long that? My plan was to wait for lower, but that level doesn't come, let's say. And this happened. And I get stopped out. I think I knew it, I should have stayed long. I'm going to long again. Maybe I don't get my take profit. And then the level comes. And I've just taken 4 or 5 stop losses. I'll just wait. My plan was either to long sweep of this wick or sweep down here. And this is right now still a technical breakdown. We've broken this level down. We're retesting it as resistance. We could reclaim it. It's just a scalp, and not going to chase it as we continue breaking down here. I might try this setup if we sweep and reclaim these lows. But this bearish structure is holding. Ugh, sorry. All right. Well, maybe I'll end the live stream here. The other thing is just the volume and the delta is not very compelling here for a local low. It looked a lot better here, even though this didn't work and this might work. I'm going to assume price is seeking lower locally. All right. If you're new into the live stream, go to the beginning to look at the higher time frame stuff.